Hi, welcome to another episode of the Investor's Guide to Hard Money Lending with CoreLend Financial. Today we have Gabe Long with us with New Western out of Birmingham, Alabama. So welcome, Gabe.
Hey there, how are you?
Doing great. Took a little field trip outside of
That's
Memphis
right, welcome.
to come down here. So, tell me, first of all, tell me a little bit about New Western. Tell me what you do. Tell me about.
Certainly. Yeah, we're a nationwide brokerage, and what we do is real simple. We've got a team that finds distressed investment properties and a team that works with investors. And what we do is we buy these investment properties and resell them to investors through a marketplace. It's very much relationship based, so that our agents can bring more than just inventory to the investors if they need contractors or hard money. We can help them out from finding the property all the way through renovating it and ultimately, hopefully, either getting it sold or getting it sold or getting some tenants in there. So it's very much we want to be a consultant and to help these investors from A to Z throughout the entire process. We're in over 40 markets nationwide, and we opened up Birmingham about 3 years ago.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so you talk about that because you're focusing on distressed properties.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me that with financing, how hard money works in that with you, like where that
Certainly.
plays a role.
Where it's big for us, and it doesn't matter the experience level or where the investor is. We like to provide those options to them, mainly because if they're flipping, you want to leverage other people's money, and if it's the same with landlord. If you're a brand new investor, you can leverage and pick up some properties with better returns that maybe you couldn't have done with your own cash. And for an experienced investor, it's huge because they can then scale, do more than one property at once. And that's a part of a lot of our early conversations with investors of where their goals want to be and how hard money will fit to get them there. If they're looking to expand or if they're just looking to get started, it's certainly a way that they can facilitate that, make it happen faster, and ultimately spread the risk around. So it's something that we use every day, and I would say 80% of the buyers at least utilize it on one, if not all, of their transactions with us.
Okay, and you talk about that of refinancing, like using hard money like for the rental market.
Mm-hmm.
We've had other people just say that they could use cash, but they have to wait 6 months for the seasoning period
Mm-hmm.
to get it refinanced out into a DSCR loan versus they use hard money, it's 90 days.
Right. That's huge. And just the initial acquisition, if your plan is to refinance out of it, it's still wise to use hard money. I mean, other people's money, you're still leveraging, you're still managing that risk. And if you've got a really good eye and know how to analyze, you know that you're going to appraise out on that refi and get your money back, pay that initial hard money loan off, and move forward with your DSCR. I mean, it's a play that us being a very strong landlord market here in Birmingham, it's a play that a lot of our investors use.
Okay, tell me about that really strong landlord. We're out of Memphis, of course, and we expanded into Birmingham because
Right.
it reminded us so much of our own city, which has always been known as kind of a landlord city or a heavy investment.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about Birmingham.
It's very similar. There's a large swath of properties that have been neglected over a long time that need a local investor or a national investor to come in and make these neighborhoods or houses or streets livable, affordable. It's a huge landlord market in that the price points are still relatively low and the rent rates are really strong. So it can be, we've seen a lot of investors coming from out of state, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's obviously local investors as well. Now, in terms of flips here, it can be very profitable if you're putting out a product, at least in my opinion, 300 or cheaper. It won't sit as long. Now, a lot of the local investors like those higher end areas. They're going to get a much larger return. They just have to wait much longer. Those days on market are creeping up on those price points over 280 to 300. But if you put a livable product, a nice product out there for under 250, it's usually snatched up pretty quickly here. Where the majority of the buyers are buying rentals, though. I mean, I came from the Atlanta market where you'd have to spend $200,000 to get $1,200-1,300 in rent, and here you can spend $100 or less and get that at least close to that same rent. So it's a huge benefit, it's very landlord friendly here, and not just in the price point, but also just how the city's run, the state. So, one reason I keyed in and wanted to open this market was that heavy landlord activity.
Yes, and you're looking at too, like with the Section 8, I'm sure you've got a bunch of investors that go that Section 8 route, which
Right.
the Section 8 rents have been what's driving the retail rents higher too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we've seen it just in the short time we've been in Birmingham, as those market rents kind of chasing Section 8 and vice versa, where they're kind of bumping up. It hasn't been a huge, jump at any one given moment. It's just a slow rise we've seen over the years.
Yep, it's a steady rise. It
got
keeps
it.
on going, and you have some people that with hard money with rentals, a landlord, like that's a bad thing to own properties. My whole thing is like I'd like somebody local, or at least somebody locally managing it, and because there are always going to be tenants, there are always going to be people that want to rent versus own.
Absolutely. And if the housing market for purchase is not beneficial, or you're unable to purchase, you'd want a nice place to live. And you need a landlord to come in and pick up some of these properties, renovate them, make them nice and livable, and provide a nice home for a family to move into.
I want to discuss Birmingham a little bit more. We found in our Memphis market too that some of these tenants, they're expecting higher end finishes now. If they're paying these rents, it is not what you would want now to do if you're doing a rehab of. You're not doing the landlord special and slapping some white paint on everything and
Right.
move them in. So tell me what it is. What's like in here in Birmingham? What are
Certainly.
the expectations on rehabs?
What you'll see mostly here are, and you're not wrong there, obviously. I mean, the days of people painting over light switches and all of that's pretty far behind us. You see nice LVP flooring. You see granite countertops in the kitchen, usually newer appliances if there's a really nice turn. And this is, even at rents in the 900 or less. I mean, 850 plus, you're still going to see that kind of level. And that's the expectation now, is newer floors and not just linoleum or cheap carpet. I mean, it's LVP is what I'm seeing a lot of. It's nicer kitchens, bathrooms. And again, this isn't, you're not putting in what you would put in for a high-end $500,000 flip, but it's certainly much nicer than even just 10 years ago in the rental market, where it is those nicer, higher grade of paint. You're getting nicer countertops, nicer cabinetry. I mean, overall, the entire scope of that turn or that rehab is at a higher level than it was just even 10 years ago for rentals. And I think that's a very good thing. I mean, you get the pride of living in a nice home for these tenants
And fewer returns.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
the fewer
They want to
returns.
stay.
Right. And so you get your investors where they've gone in and they've purchased things using hard money, like get their rehab and that. But if their tenant moves after a year and they've got another $20,000 turn right there.
Right.
So it's keeping those tenants in there for 2, 3, 4, or 5 years is definitely more beneficial to all these investors. So tell me, we're relatively new here in the Birmingham market. What has been different using CoreLend for hard money versus other ones that you've been?
Yeah, and we work with so many buyers. We've worked with just about every lender who does business here as a hard money lender. What I've liked about CoreLend is first the relationship you've had with our agents, in the quick response, showing up to educate them on not just your processes but hard money in general. It's been huge, but outside of that, just the terms have been incredibly strong for this market. Our landlords love them. That quick response translates not just to the response with CoreLend to our agents, but to the buyers as well. The buyers know right away exactly what they need to get to CoreLend in order to get approved and what's needed prior to closing. And the biggest thing they've been raving about has been those terms, and that at the closing table they're bringing less down and in many cases getting money back. And their monthly payments are more than manageable. It makes very much sense with their strategy. So it's been nothing but positive from my agents, but mainly, more importantly, our buyers. Our sellers like it too because people tend to close on time.
Yes, that is a key thing. It's like the speed, and in real estate, especially when you're finding these good deals. And typically, and explain a little bit more about that. Like, what is the difference finding a deal through like New Western through this versus straight from the multiple listing service, the
Certainly.
MLS?
Certainly, and we don't do anything that an investor couldn't do on their own in finding these deals. What we're going to save them is time and a lot of it. So I've got a full acquisitions team, and all they do is locate these distressed properties. And because our sales team meets with each investor individually, we know what they're looking for. We're going to be very targeted in our approach in finding these. So the properties that they'll see through our marketplace are curated for investors for this market who are looking right now. So it can be more than just competing with every other potential home buyer in the MLS. You come here, it's going to be the investors looking at investor properties. They're going to be bought with either cash or hard money. And so you're going to have less competition. You're going to have a more curated experience, and you're going to have experts helping you with, especially if you're from out of town, if you need contractors, if you need hard money, if you need property managers, if you need a listing agent when you're ready to flip, we've got a huge vendor list that we've vetted, and we can certainly help there as well. So again, it's a little bit more than if you were to just get it on Zillow or hire a local agent who, there's some great agents here who can do a lot for you, but I think us being so targeted for the investment side of things, it's a huge boon to a lot of investors around here.
And that's a huge deal to especially new investors or investors that are out of state or not even, you could be out of the country as well. You've got a prepackaged team here of experts ready to help you so that to ensure your success. And hard money with us being a part of that, where it's just another arm to the team of like, we've got a prepackaged deal ready for you to go and make it as easy as possible to get into investing.
That's it. I mean, it's the easy button. We can help you find the deal. We can help you fund the deal. We can help you fix the deal. We can help you in your exit strategy. So that's really a point of pride for us, is that we bring on these investors and don't just say, hey, do you want to buy this? But what are your goals and how can we help you get there? So I completely agree with you.
And so many of them too that I see a lot of these investors are like, I've got, I could do conventional or I could do cash. I've got the 20% down, but I've only got so many 20% down, or I've only got so many deals I can fund through cash. Versus you like you were mentioning before, that hard money, you can leverage it and you can buy more and scale up faster.
That's right.
How have you used that personally?
I do. Yes, absolutely. I'm a landlord. Personally, I'm a landlord, and I've used hard money in the past. I'm about to gear up for my next round of buying, and my last round, I wasn't aware of you guys. We've started doing business in the last few months, and it's gone really, really well. So you'll be the one that I'm going to for my next. I think I'll want 3 by the end of the year. So that's what we'll be doing. Again, for me, it's single family rentals is what I love. I love the equity play. I love the cash flow. So or the appreciation play, excuse me. And that's what I'll be going for.
Yes, and that's kind of, I'm a mix of both though. So it's like, I love my single families, but I've got some fourplex. I'll flip some apartment complexes.
Yeah,
so
you told me that.
Yeah, so it's definitely there's the hard money, you can work with all these different spaces because like it's sometimes hard to find somebody that's going to do a multifamily or do some of those, and you do those, and you just got the flexibility to where we can fit what your needs are and then go refinance it out elsewhere. But it's finding that to where you can get it done quickly. And
you've said it a few times. It's speed, right? And you had just mentioned maybe somebody wants to go conventional. So often you could lose a deal because you need 30, 45 days to close, and it's conventional with all of the contingencies that go along with that. But if you can walk in with a hard money offer that's as good as cash in the eyes of a seller that's going to close in a week and a half to 2 weeks, you're less likely to lose that deal because your offer is that much stronger. So speed, again, even in just the how fast you can close, how fast you can get an offer to them as a purchaser, is huge. And hard money helps you leverage and get that much faster.
And we've even had some people that have utilized us where we have our transactional funding, because it's it's ready, it's great. You don't need a whole rehab on it, but you need to close in that week and a half, and you're not going to be able to do that with a conventional. Like with our transactional, you can go up to 90 days. Usually it's most 60 days, but where you can sit there and go ahead and then get it refinanced after you close on it with us. So
That's
that
huge.
way you can,
especially for something that doesn't need much work, you could, if it's a very little bit of work or maybe none at all. You can self-fund that portion, use the transactional funding, and refi right away. I mean, I think that's huge, huge. It's not something that I've been able to utilize yet because I usually go for the nasty ones that need a lot of work. But it's, for me personally, I would look into that if I found something that was just an outstanding, close to turnkey deal. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and now talk about this too, because I know we've all had some horror stories. I think. Tell me about like what's been one of your biggest, like you just remember, like everything that go wrong went wrong, or just the nastiest deal you just talked about. Tell me about your kind of one of your worst case scenarios.
Oh, we had one. Now, this was a different market before I came to Birmingham, where I was working with a buyer that was purchasing a property. We checked everything out on the acquisition side to make sure it was good to go. The lending was actually in place. We were actually looking really good. And it's apropos of nothing. I don't know that you can learn anything from it, but it's funny because 2 days before closing, the city demolished the house
Oh,
without
wow.
posting anything. It was our final walkthrough, right? So we drive over there for the final walkthrough, and there wasn't a house there to be purchased. It was one of the weirdest. We called and said they had posted. We had been there. The seller knew nothing about. Just the city. I don't know. It was on some code enforcement lien had lasted longer and longer, and the guy thought he had taken care of it and hadn't. And they had him on the demo schedule, didn't post it. 2 days before closing, there was no longer a house there. That was a wild situation. That seller wasn't a whole lot we could do for that seller. I mean, we ended up not buying it. Obviously, there wasn't a house there to be purchased, and the buyer got his earnest money back because
There was no
there
house
was
to
no
purchase.
house. But that was probably the weirdest. Some of the or lending horror stories that's more common. I'm sure you've seen it with some other lenders. Is day before closing, we're told after many times that everything's looking good that the house is no longer approved, even though we should have known that a couple days or even the day of putting it under contract. And that can be for a number of reasons, whether it's miscommunication at the lenders or it passed initial underwriting and then that second layer comes in and it gets nixed. But that's always a tough conversation. We have to scramble, try to extend closing, find another lender, and that's where you can really show a buyer what you're worth when you can be the hero that brings in the right lender to get it done in a short amount of time prior to closing. Now, it's not always workable, but I've had that happen a few times, and we've been able to pull it out many times by finding lenders like CoreLend who can move quick and understand what the vision for that house is, right? Rather than just doesn't work with their particular algorithm, therefore it doesn't pass underwriting. If you have some understanding of what this buyer's trying to do, get this thing approved and get it done in 3 days rather than 2 weeks. I mean, that's if you can find a lender who can do that, you keep them and you work with them a lot. So, and that's been the one hiccup that I run into over and over again is people coming up to the finish line as a lender and not being able to get it done for whatever reason, right? And we've tested a lot of lenders out. There's a lot of hard money lenders that do business in Birmingham, and there's very few that I would trust my own investments with. Let's be honest.
Well, and that it also goes to the strength of what your underwriting is too, because we're very much if you're sending a lot of Burr strategies, so they're wanting to refinance this, and y'all are very good about being realistic about what the ARV is on these. Because our biggest thing is when we get these and we look, they're like, but it's worth 10,000 more than this, or it's this. I'm like, we're very much of we don't want you to have to bring that extra 10,000
Right.
once you already own the property. We'd rather just your earnest money, even if that be at risk, versus then you can't refinance out because you
Right.
don't have that. And I'll say that y'all do a very good job of making sure those numbers work, where they work every time to go to refinance based on what the rents are.
Well, we do it every day. We're all licensed. I'm a licensed agent. We pull recent data. We're very strict about what we're using so that we're not being aspirational in our evaluations. We want to make sure it's very realistic, what it looks like on the ground, right? So I appreciate you saying that, but I really put that off to my team and say they're really good. We have our finger on the pulse of what's going on in the market and what's going on with our investors, so that hopefully we continue to get that feedback that we're very accurate on our analysis of these investment products.
So tell me, so with y'all being, and I know we don't have crystal balls of what the market can do. What do you see happening here in this Birmingham market over the next 6 months to a year?
Certainly, that in the short term, I would consider that there's been a lot of recent injection of capital. So we've got commercial developments on the north side. We've got some on the west side. We've got some coming in further south in Shelby County, quite a bit actually. And I think a lot of that's going to push appreciation in those specific areas closer to that year mark as those projects begin to get finished. Though we've already started to see it in areas like Norwood and a couple of others. Overall, I would say I would see some small appreciation. As rates may drop, we'd probably see a lot of new buyer activity in which the pricing is probably going to go up a little bit again. For the most part, I think in terms of the investment activity over the next 6 months to a year, still going to keep seeing this spike in landlord activity that we've seen over the last year and a half. And I think the flips are going to come back as those days on market start to shrink. But that's not going to happen at least for me. I don't believe it's going to happen for those $600,000-$700,000 purchase prices within that yearly time frame. But in that $300,000 to $400,000, I think it's going to start to creep back up. And right now, I mean, anything under $250 is still going very fast. I expect that to continue as well. So a lot of more of the same over the next 6 months to a year, with some pockets of strong appreciation and just continuing on that landlord push. You know, a lot of burrs, that sort of thing, because we've still got a huge swath of houses that need an investor. You know, they've just been, whole portions of the west side of town, there's just vacant house, and gorgeous old, bungalows and Tudors that, when they are renovated, it's just incredible. Some of the things that have happened in some of these neighborhoods just since I've been here, areas of Inslee, something like Bush Hills, where it's these beautiful old Tudors. When I first moved here, you couldn't give them away. Now they're going in the 200s, 250s. I mean, I would expect that stuff to continue as well.
Okay, so for those like coming in new to the Birmingham market, like you're wanting to invest, what is your biggest piece of advice to them?
I would say someone who's coming into this market, you want to find someone who's doing business here and build a team out. So we can help on that, but in the end, you got to know it, right? You got to know the micro pockets, because I'm sure Memphis is the same. It can be street by street sometimes on what's a smart buy and what's a bad buy.
Or block by block on that street.
Or block by block on the same street. So immersing yourself in the market somehow, whether that's through a local agent, whether that's through us, whether that's through finding a landlord who's done a lot of business here and picking their brain, whether it's through building out your contracting team and then asking them where the business is. I would say the self-education needs to be step number one, so that you can make wise decisions when you're ready to pull the trigger on things.
Yes, you make sure you find yourself a local, like that's the expert.
Exactly.
Don't presume you to be the expert coming into a new market.
Right. I mean, there's people here that have been focused solely on Birmingham for 15 years. They're going to have some incredible insights. It was that when I opened this office, it was the first thing I did was try to meet with all of the largest buyers in this market and sit down for lunch and just pick their brain on what's special about Birmingham, what is different, where the biggest pitfalls are, and that was incredibly helpful when we were launching this place. So.
Well, great. Anything else you want to bring about Northwestern? I appreciate having you on. It's been very,
of course. I know you guys are out of Memphis, but we do a lot of business here in Birmingham with out-of-state investors. If you're looking for maybe some alternative investment properties from the market you're in, please reach out. But outside of that, we're in over 40 markets nationwide, and these are the major markets. So if you're looking in Texas or California or Pennsylvania, you can reach out to New Western. We'll be absolutely able to help you.
You're not flying blind.
No, we're brick and mortar local in every market we do business. I'm a licensed broker. We have a licensed broker, and everyone on the team in each office is also licensed. So we're absolutely happy to help.
Well, I appreciate you. And then I'd like to thank our sponsors out there, Ready Door Homes, CoreLend, and City Lights. So we appreciate having you on, Gabe.
Of course.
you're really happy to be part of the Birmingham market now.
Well, I'm happy to be doing business with you guys. I'm glad that you're coming into this market. I think it's very similar to the market you're coming from, so it's not going to be a whole lot, or there hasn't been a whole lot of roadblocks or learning curves that we had to get over. We spoke the same language right away and immediately started doing a lot of business together.
And it will. Appreciate you. All right. Thank you all for tuning in.